Today is Tuesday, it's July 1st. Before we start the meeting, would you please remove all baseball caps and make sure that your cell phones are silenced, please? Thank you. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing after.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like you to remain standing as one of our employees passed away over the weekend, Trevor Bowman. He worked in several departments within the city, and he was very well liked with his fellow employees. He is going to be sorely missed. The last time I saw Trevor, he was going down Commercial Street, driving the trolley, and it looked like he was having as much good time as his passengers. So please remain silent for a minute in his honor. Our sympathies go out to his family and friends. Item 1 on the agenda is roll call.
DeBono,
Here.
Shu,
Here.
Thurman,
Here.
Trujillo,
Here.
Ogletree, Williamson,
Here.
Griego.
Here. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have corrections or changes to the agenda? There being none, I need a motion to approve the agenda as listed.
So moved.
Mr. Okay. Shu second, Ogletree motion. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trujillo,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 3, policy items and staff reports. 3A, Lisa Glorioso, who is a member of our Historic Preservation Commission, would like to report.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. So the Historic Preservation Commission came up with an idea to do a scavenger hunt for Santa Fe Trail Days. And Audra liked it so much that she is proposing to have it be kicked off on July 4th through September 2nd. And what participants will do is they can either scan a QR code or they can get a handout of many of our beautiful buildings throughout town, and they'll go to the building, hopefully visit the business, and fill out some information about it, like the year it was built, the architect, some past uses of the building, and yeah, and there's visual clues for them to see, and there's also written clues. So, combo of the two, they'll hopefully figure out what buildings are involved. And I believe there are 14 different locations. Can't reveal them though because it's a contest, but hopefully it'll get some of our community members out downtown, as well as boost tourism and draw awareness to our fabulous architecture and our wonderful businesses that are in our community. Anything else? Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Cash prize. Oh yes, there is a cash prize. There is a $1,000 cash prize.
Wow.
For people who participate, so all of you should participate. They'll have to pick up an evidence sheet that has all the things they're supposed to do, and they're also supposed to take a picture. I forgot that part. And then turn it in by September 2nd, 3rd, I don't know, somewhere in there. It's in the details. And for a chance to win a $1,000 grand prize. So,
Just one prize?
yes.
Is there any information on the city website?
There will.
There will be.
Okay.
Tonight.
Okay. Alrighty.
And that's all I have.
Anybody?
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank
Fun
you.
concept. Very nice.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Item 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. This is the public comment section of the meeting. It's your opportunity to speak whatever on your mind. You have 5 minutes to speak. We will give you a 1-minute warning when you have 1 minute. That way you can wrap up your thoughts and finish your comments. And Mr. Downs will be a timekeeper, so when he tells you it's 1 minute, it's 1 minute. Heather Merchant wants to talk about drugs.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So this is a little bit of a follow-up of the last meeting when the hit kits being handed out was addressed. So probably great news for everybody. Trinidad does not have a homeless problem. I want that to be made very clear and well understood. There's no homeless problem in the city of Trinidad. What we do have, however, is a problem of addiction, substance abuse, and repeat offenders. It's not a homeless problem. Homeless problem would insinuate that we have a group of well-mannered, well-intentioned folks who are on financial hardship and found themselves out on the streets. I'm sorry, that's not the case. We have a handful of those. I'm sure those of you long-term citizens remember Catman. That's his name. I wish I could call him something else. I don't know his name. Double amputee. Catman didn't bother anybody. Catman go sit, have his meal at McDonald's, not accost anybody, not ask for anything, mind his business. He was never caught up in violent crimes, stealing from any vehicles, anything of the sort. But that is not the problem we have in Trinidad. Not at all. However, we do have a group of mentally ill and drug addicted people that are repeat offenders of petty and sometimes violent crimes. This is the third meeting now that this has been spoken about, at least since I've been trying to help tackle this issue. And they're not interested in so much as getting their trash into a trash container or their needles into a sharps container. They're purely interested in their next fix. Trying to disguise this as a homeless problem under the guise of empathy and love is inaccurate. It's a misdiagnosis. To misdiagnose something in the medical realm can kill you, can cripple you. And that's what will happen to our culture and our city if this is continued to be misdiagnosed as a homeless problem. If this, the idea of handing out the paraphernalia, from everything I've heard from people in support of this, is it's an act of empathy, an act of love, because we don't want them getting sick with this or with that. If handing out paraphernalia and drugs was an act of love, those of you who are parents, when your kids were getting ready for prom or getting ready to take off to college, why weren't they getting sent with a nice little duffel bag full of tourniquets and syringes? Oh, honey, have fun at prom, don't forget your syringe. That's not a conversation any of you parents have ever had. You've gone out of your way to make sure those drugs are inaccessible to your children. And if it were your children with needles in their arms at our river bottom, you'd be facing this issue much differently than you are. The citizens are powerless to create change. I know a lot of good men, fathers, uncles, brothers, that would have absolutely no problem taking the situation into their own hands, and this is not a call for any type of violence or vigilantism, but their hands are tied because they can't take on the issue because they're afraid of jail time. They're afraid of what happens to them if they go and try to make our parks safe, our grocery stores safe. So they can't address it. However, they do look to you, and they are looking to you as our elected officials to do something more about these problems. Everybody standing in front of me, or sitting in front of me rather, wanted this job so bad they campaigned for it. I don't know any other job you campaign for. Well, the job comes with ugly stuff too. It's more than just ribbon cuttings. It's more than just what crosswalk gets repainted. Sometimes some really ugly work has to happen, and it's the job everyone sitting in front of me signed up for. From everyone's point of view, sitting on idle hands and deaf ears doing nothing about this, you're telling all of your constituents you don't care. Almost everybody in this chamber here today is here about this issue, nothing more. They're all tired of it. They all want to live in a safe town. Almost everyone behind me that's a man behind me today is a father. Their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters cannot go to the store in the middle of town and feel safe about it. And the Chronicle News put out a report, last week, that Los Angeles County is the highest in overdose in the whole state. That's the legacy right now. That's our legacy, is highest in overdoses. We have the full ability as a home rule charter to get ordinances in place and policing in place to change that statistic. And that could be everybody's legacy in front of me to change that, to turn that statistic around. You guys have the opportunity. I know that a lot of people sitting in front of me were a big fan of Mr. Jay Chimino's rebranding of the city as the City of Champions. So I'm going to ask all of you, how do you plan to champion being the worst county in the state for overdose. It's balls in your court and we're all watching. Thank you very much.
Tim Merchant, I think that's drugs, isn't it? Did you mention?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I can't read your
Oh,
handwriting.
I know, most people can't, I apologize.
That's drugs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Tim Merchant, thank you very much. Just to piggyback off what Keith has said, this is another message that we came up in the last council meeting. And my only question, I guess, well, I have a couple of statements. I find it very disconcerting, excuse me, that a family would be willing to pay for a parks pass to take their kids up to the park at Trinidad Lake because they don't feel safe taking their kids to any park in the city. And that's a fact. I wish Mr. Floyd Duran was here, whatever, I'm not trying to put his name out there, but that is a fact. Okay, this is not, as Keither stated, a homeless issue. This is a public safety issue. So my question to you, and Mr. Downs could probably answer this better than I can, but if you own a bar and you're a bartender and you serve somebody that maybe had one too many, they go out and create an accident that takes a human life or serious bodily injury, that bar owner and that bartender can be held civilly liable and in some instances criminally liable. So the inaction of this council by doing something, are we setting the people up for a massive lawsuit, a wrongful death lawsuit? I don't know what happened across the street here by the soup kitchen with that homicide. I don't know what happened on Commercial Street with that unfortunate incident. I don't have all the particulars, but it does make people wonder. Okay, it makes people wonder. I'm not here, look folks, I'm out in the county, okay? But what happens in this city directly affects me, my children, my grandchildren. Okay, my daughter will not take her kids to Chimino Park. That was supposed to be the diamond in the rough. People from I-25 could see it, plans to expand. I went by there today, okay, after I got off work. I can't blame my daughter. I can't. Folks, we're not doing a personal attack on people. We're doing a public safety message. Times Square, and I'll go back and I'll just finish with this. Times Square never would have had, back in the day, Good Morning America filming down there and everything else, because it was horrible. Horrible. The crime, the prostitution, everything. Rudy Giuliani, like it or not, went in there and got tough. He called it active policing. Now, I'm not trying to put a burden on our police force. Okay, this can be done with code enforcement. All right, our police force is stretched mighty thin right now, obviously for a reason. Okay, I was talking to Steve Reams before I came in here. He has a direct correlation, he's the former sheriff of Weld County, direct correlation of the soft on crime penalties and decriminalizing drug use, public intoxication, public nudity, whatever, and the rise in crime in this state. He has a great discussion on it. If you get a chance, look it up. But what we're saying, folks, is you do have the power. You do have the ability to do something. Okay? All we're asking for our kids. We're asking for your kids. Okay? This is a public safety issue. Just like Mr. Reams said, in Weld County, I can't speak for Los Angeles County, but 80% of their crime is committed by the same 20% of people over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not tied to homelessness, it's not tied to racial demographics, Democrat, Republican, anything like that. It's tied to mental health and drug abuse. It's that simple. We've seen the rates go up since 64 was passed. That's a reality, folks. Okay? And I'm not bashing that. That's not my point. Point is, you have the power to do something.
1 minute.
That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett Johnson, I think you want to talk about KTS. Is that what that?
The kits that they're handing out. Kits. With the syringes and the energy bundles. My name's Fred Johnson, and so I'm coming from a little different angle. I was homeless by choice through addiction, and and handing out these kits and giving people the ability, to continue their addiction. It's really just people like wanting to go home and feel good about themselves and like they're doing something. It's not doing anything. It's enabling these people. And if you have a violent person, then you say, okay, well, I'm just going to give you some pads and a helmet so that you don't hurt yourself when you're out being violent. It's the same deal. And I come from that life, and I overcame it. And I work and I pay taxes, and I'm a citizen now. And it didn't happen from people helping me continue my drug addiction. And so, this is a grassroots thing. Everybody's got to get involved in this, and somebody's got to prompt it. But drugs cause you to commit crime. And so that's where it starts, is if they're going to commit crime, they've got to be arrested. I mean, you got to do something with them. You got to get them sober and give them a chance to make some rational decisions about their addiction, because as long as they're addicted, and as long as you're feeding them dope, and you're feeding them the ability to do dope, and you're not policing them on leaving needles around, and they're not going to do anything about it. They need a push, and they need to come up against, they need to become responsible and accountable for their actions. We're not holding them accountable for their criminal acts. I've had my tools stolen out of my truck twice in the last year. I live on Main Street, and we got the guys on film doing it, but there's nothing that can be done, and that's my livelihood. And it's we have the skating rink, and it's once or twice a week we got some jacked up homeless guy coming in our doors and casing the place and intimidating my wife and customers, and it's a real deal. And we have that skating rink so that the kids have a safe place to go and do something in this town. And they're threatening that, and they hang out, and they're higher than a kite and unpredictable when they come in, and like the gentleman said, our hands are tied. They get pretty wild and exhibit some violence, and they're looking over the register, and they're looking over the purse of the lady sitting next to the door, and it's just ridiculous, and there's nothing that we can do except for run them off and wait for them to come back. And so something definitely needs to happen, and I think it starts here. They've got to be policed. They're not going to stop on their own. They're not going to stop because you love them and because you go home and feel good because you gave them some ability to continue their addiction by giving them these syringes and these bubbles to smoke the dope in. It's just, any sane person's going to go, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous that they're handing that stuff out. And it just needs to be addressed, and it starts with you guys, I think, and everybody in the community standing up to this and saying, hey, we've had enough. I've had $4,000 or $5,000 worth of tools stolen. I'm just a tradesman. I don't make a grand living. It's not easy to replace, and luckily we have a lovely community and people help me out, but this is really affecting people, and it's right. It's not homelessness. It's addiction, and it's a life choice. It's a lifestyle, and that's about all I got.
Thank you. I have one communication written. It is written by the family of Sergeant Horace J. Mestis. It says, thank you. The proclamation for Sergeant Horace J. Mestis was beautifully done. We want to thank the mayor and city of Trinidad for their recognition and support. So that was received by council. Council reports.
I have no council report for any activities performed prior to or since the last council meeting. What I would say is, some weeks ago, I brought a council action report that in large part dealt with what we've now heard for 2 meetings. It was signed by 4 council people. And I think if we had that work session, we could, in large part, address some of these issues potentially. So I would like to make a formal request that we reevaluate that council action report that had a majority of council already on it to address these issues. I think it is a travesty, the condition of our parks. It is an accurate assessment of the inability to go to Safeway freely, the parks freely. I will say it publicly. Prior to the state park being on your license, I obtained a state park permit to take my child to the park at the state park. And that's a sad thing for a council person to say, but it is the truth, and I've said it here before. So I would like to make a formal request to revisit that respectfully. That's all that I have, Mayor.
Mr. Thurman, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report at this time, thank
Okay, Mr. Trio, go for it.
I had the pleasure of going to the Colorado Municipal League with Councilwoman Ogletree, Attorney Les Downs, and City Manager, Ms. Marshall. And it was, I'm just going to read what I wrote because it's just easier than me freelancing. So this year, the Colorado Municipal League Annual Conference 2025 provided a different insight and learning opportunities for us. I am grateful to have had amazing company at this conference. Also, had a great opportunity to meet some amazing municipal leaders throughout the state and to share ideas and possible solutions. And I wrote a little summary of the classes I attended, which is probably going to be really boring, so I'll go through them pretty quickly if that is all right. So the first class that I attended was Managing Divisions in the Governing Body. That focused on strategies to navigate and manage different opinions within the governing councils. We sat in on a class for what was happening at the Department of Local Affairs. They provided updates, recent initiatives and programs, and lots of housing opportunities. Nuclear energy in Colorado was another class that we had attended. That was an open panel discussion that explored the role, opportunities, and challenges. Nuclear power, nuclear energy. There was also a general session where we had it was called the Bucket List of Life. It was more of an inspirational speech that went through, and it focused on personal and professional growth. Then I also attended the annual business meeting for 2025 where we discussed and made some decisions on annual business that happens every year, and we also voted to elect the new board members to CML for their terms. Another class I attended was AI for All 2.0 Next Level. That gave me insights into the applications, challenges, future of artificial intelligence in municipal operations, and the benefits of automation. And then also we also sat in on a session, the Cornerstone of Community Prosperity, why economic development matters for every town. That's focused on how to create and sustain economic growth within communities. I'm hoping to have the speakers brought down to speak to council and to our community to show us all the amazing opportunities that are out there that we could possibly benefit from. The last one that me and Councilwoman Ogletree attended was extremely insightful. It was, they do this every year, it's Don't Reply All, and it was generational gaps in municipal leadership. This one explored the role and opportunities and challenges of recruitment and mentorship, as well as legacy planning. Also bringing to light financial challenges, also bringing to light the financial challenges running and being elected to office that can bring to a 20 and 30-year-old demographic, which is a voice that most communities are not hearing from. It also creates a lack of representation from them and on some councils and commissions. And just addressing that as a voice that we need to hear, because that is the actual area that is helping to bring up the economy and bringing the families into the areas. And hopefully that's pretty much it. And I thank everyone for the opportunity for allowing us to go. It was a wonderful trip filled with education, and I look forward to doing it again. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mr. Chu.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Dumont.
The only thing I have is this Friday, 4th of July parade in downtown Trinidad. It's helped facilitated through the Los Angeles County Veterans Committee. It starts at 10 o'clock, lineup is at 9. They're going to have a dry parade at 10, and the water parade is at 10:15, followed by a ceremony at Monument Park, or Memorial Park, sorry. And then a picnic at Chimino Park right after the ceremony. And then on July 11th, which is a Friday, the Los Angeles County Veterans Council, they're having an art class for veterans, and that's with Darcy Minsick, and that's at the Mount Carmel Wellness and Community Center. And you have to register for that class if you're a veteran, so I don't know the number right off, but someone will answer if you're a veteran and you want to attend that class.
I won't go through all of what Trujillo talked about, because we did overlap a few classes, but it was very helpful. I attended other classes that had to do with expanding your economy through creative enterprises. That was really helpful. It was educational about what Colorado Creative Industries does, as well as other organizations in the state to help people. There are a lot of agencies that are available to help, grants that are available to help for any kind of enterprise that people want to start, and that has to do with creative industries. One thing, a class that I attended had to do with, that I found very interesting, and I kind of wish the people hadn't left, and I agree with Councilman Williamson that we need to have a continuing conversation about the homelessness / drug abuse issue in Trinidad, because it's an enormous problem, and it is not a problem that is easy to handle. It's why it's a problem. If it were easy, it would be over. It's just not. You need to be able to look at people in the eye, and you need to try to sort out what help they need to get to stop taking drugs, to find a more stable life, to see if they have family in the community who are willing to accept them back into their lives, because a lot of homeless people in Trinidad who have drug problems or mental illness problems have family here. And so that family undoubtedly is overwhelmed, and we need to see if we can provide the help. One class I mentioned was how the municipal court can be helpful in connecting people with services. And it was a little more complicated. The scheme that they do in the town that presented was probably more complicated than what we need in Trinidad. But one thing that I liked is that when a person has a violation and they come to court, rather than sanctioning them with a fine or time in jail, which does nothing, is to require them to attend counseling through local centers like Health Solutions. That's a first start. It's a way that the two, law enforcement and this population, can have a connection. And so I thought that was a really good idea. Let's see. Right. I went to the funeral and the interment of Sergeant Mestis, which I hope, there were a lot of people there. It was amazingly attended, incredibly moving. And I did not know that man. I do not know his family, but it was beautiful to see the devotion in this community to someone who was part of us and gave his life and is remembered, and his service was honored. So that was a beautiful moment. And I guess the only thing left is that the Triggers are playing Tucson tonight, which is where I'm from. So I have to go cheer for both sides. I don't know. But this is the only time they're playing Tucson this year. So
Why are you gonna, for Tucson?
No, well, my children were born there. There are reasons.
That's
But
Pete, that's,
it's not good enough?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll cheer louder for Trinidad. But it's pretty exciting because Tucson is a town of 1 million people.
Yeah.
And they have a team that travels to Trinidad to play our trigger, so we should go see it. That's it.
Meeting adjourned.
thank you. To follow up on the discussion by the audience this evening, you know, I've sat here for 7.5 years and listened to accusations that, you know, we're not doing what we should be doing, and on and on and on. But let me tell you, there's a backstory to what these people have come in and said this evening. So on the 17th of July, there was a mother that came and spoke to council. She has an addicted son. I've known the mother since she was in high school. I've known the son since he was a baby. And I guess everybody on council will agree with me. She is heartsick about what's happening to her son. I got her telephone number. I reached out to her the next day. I said, please come and talk to me. Let's get to the bottom of this, because I was appalled that those kids were being distributed at Chimino Park. I said, we gotta find out where they're coming from and why they're coming. Why are they being distributed? I will tell you, the first phone call I made was to Marcy Keys at Trinidad, Keep Trinidad Safe. She said, we absolutely do not distribute those paraphernalia kits. She said, we have gotten a request from an organization from Raton wanting money to donate to them. So we're trying to find out the source of these paraphernalia kits. But my point is, in the reason I'm bringing this up is, please do not rush to judgment. Do not rush to judgment for Keep Trinidad Safe. I met up with 2 of the people that work for Trinidad, Keep Trinidad Safe, yesterday at the courthouse. They were excited because they got 2 people into treatment yesterday. They were going to the courts and getting these people out of trouble, getting them into treatment. So, you know, I appreciate that you exercise your right to speak to us, but please do not jump to conclusions. You know, we have to work within the system just like everybody else. We can't, our society, our government was not based on just go and do your thing. We've got to do it the right way, and we are trying. Like Miss Ogletree said, it's a very serious problem. It's a huge problem. I see it myself. The lady that I was talking to, the son that's addicted, she can't live with him. I mean, if a parent can't take care of him, we have to find a way how to get him help and get her help too. But it's a very complicated problem, and I hope that you understand that, and that we're not sitting here idly by. I mean, we're a city council, we do policies, we pay bills, and there's some things that we absolutely cannot do. But we're going to give it our best shot, and we will make every effort to continue the conversation with the people that are upset. It's just sad that they make their statement and leave without listening to the other side of the story. So, thank you. Item 6, consent agenda item approval. Item 6A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of June 17, 2025. Item 6B, approval of bills totaling $1,909,062.89. Of that figure, The only two major purchases that were done in that time frame were purchase of power for $356,000, and we paid our property and casualty insurance for $211,660. Approval of payroll from June 21st, 2025 through July 4th of 2025. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Shu, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Trujillo seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trujillo?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 7A, public hearing. New fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license application filed by Maverick Incorporated, doing business as Maverick number 775 at 16420 County Road 71.1. The hearing is now open.
Mayor, could I ask, it doesn't look like anyone in the audience is representing Maverick. There's a gentleman in the hallway. Could, Councilman Williamson, do you mind? I would get up, but I, thank you, Chief. That's Ron Arlen.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't recognize him up here. Sorry, okay. You're from Maverick, okay, never mind. No, thank you. Next time you can represent the applicant.
Are they appearing via Zoom?
No, ma'am, yeah, I will, sorry, sir, I couldn't tell it was you.
Oh.
Don't interrupt, I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Ron.
Yeah. But, exactly, thank goodness. So, Mayor, I will tell you, Maverick is kind of a big organization. I know
Yes.
that's a brilliant thing for me to say. And we've been kind of communicating with them, like by way of email and not really having a contact person. So they are not here. We don't have anyone from Maverick. So now that you have opened the hearing,
Continue the hearing.
yeah, I would ask you to please continue this matter and have it continued until our next meeting so that we can have an applicant. It's essential that they be here, you know, to answer the questions under oath, you know, and tell us all the things they need to do. So I'm sorry, we thought they were going to be here, but obviously not.
So therefore, I need a motion to continue the hearing possibly to
July 15th,
July 15th,
please.
our next regular meeting.
I make a motion to continue the hearing until July 15th, the next regular council meeting.
Williamson, motion, and Ogletree seconded. Call the vote.
DeBono?
Yes.
Trujillo?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 8A is unfinished business. Approval for the mayor to sign a letter of request to the Department of Local Affairs to amend EIAF, EIEIO, EIAF 9589, Trinidad Fox Theater Northside Enclosure Grant.
And here's old McDonald right here, just kidding, right? The
Mr.
song.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. At the last work session, we kind of moved over this, so the directions kind of go with the amended scope of work for this DOLA grant. So I'll go ahead and summarize it. 2022, City of Trinidad requested funding from DOLA for EIAF fund. For the EIF grant for the purpose of completing construction project on the Fox West Theater. It was a total project cost of roughly 1.5 million. We were requesting to do 50-50 with DOLA, so that's 750 each, roughly. And then the project award was actually 600,000 from the state, and the city agreed to come up with a match of 900,000 roughly. So there's a little extra change on the 920,000 roughly. So with that, the project was bid out in 2023 with the construction scoped. The major point of that scope was to do an addition to the building. We were going to do upgrades to mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, and then addition of a loading dock. So that's kind of the scope generalized there. The city received 2 bids. The first bid was for roughly 1.9 million, but it was missing some key line items like the elevator lift and electrical distribution. That's probably roughly $2 million, just those 2 items. So they were missing some significant stuff. The second bid came in, it was complete, but it came in at roughly right around $3 million, which was double the original estimated cost of that 1.5. So with that, we kind of pressed pause and kind of research how we're going to make this work. So the best we came up with is the city requesting an amendment to the scope to move all those upgraded systems, not to an exterior building, but inside the building itself, probably on the 3rd floor in the basement, underneath the stage, or I guess second basement probably would be the best way to describe it. And move all the upgrades into that lower level of the basements, include air handling units, which was part of the original scope as well. And then if the budget allows, still try to price out a stage lift elevator that would be completed to the exterior of the building and use the access doors that are already on the building, and just try to value engineer this thing to get closer to the original project cost. We're not requesting to amend the budget of the grant. Dole wanted to make sure that was clear. We're not going to ask for more money on this. Now, if we go forward with this, there's approximately $300,000 left in the Colorado Community Revitalization Grant that is allocated for the rehab of the building. So we could use that $300,000 to cover it as part of the match. And then we'd also be looking at budgeting $300,000 in 2026, 2027 CIP budget for the project to get closer to that $900,000 match that we agreed to in 2023. That's all I have. Open for questions.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any?
Excuse me, later on, I can't remember which one of the items it is, we mentioned that there's $400 left, or $100,000 in the community.
Yeah, so I'm kind of assuming if we could move forward with this, we're going to allocate quite a bit of that to the architect that's going to redesign this new scope. So that piece that he's going to have to be paid through that grant, as well as the bit of money I'm asking for later on.
Okay, but there's enough for both.
There should be enough for both, and then that as depleting those 2, we're looking at about 300,000. Hopefully more. Hopefully the architect's pretty reasonable, and yeah. So, but
And then next year, we'll have to allocate $300,000 again in the CIP budget.
in 2026 and 2027. So probably the next 2 years. Yeah. Okay.
Eli?
I have no questions, thank you, Andy.
I have no questions. Thank you.
No questions. I have no questions.
So basically, what we're, the business that what we're voting on is to give me permission to sign the letter that's going to DOLA, because we had several options available to us at the work session, and we decided to continue on.
Yeah, to amend the scope and try the best way we can to use these funds.
Okay.
Better than turning them away, and then better than going forward with the $3 million project, because then we'd be really allocating quite a bit of money towards the project.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a little about value engineering, and it's just a amendment request to DOLA saying,
Okay.
if we do this, so we've had some talks with them, they seem to be really good
Okay.
to move forward with.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. Okay, I need a motion to allow me to sign the letter of request to DOLA to amend EIAF 9589 for the Fox West Theater.
So moved.
Ogletree moved, is there a second?
Second?
Trujillo seconded, call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes?
Trujillo,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yeah.
Shu,
No.
no, Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 9A, under miscellaneous business, consideration of reappointment of Chris Miller to the Lodging Tax Advisory Board. Mr. Miller is here. We vetted him at our last work session, so we know everything about Chris Miller that we need to know.
Too much.
Too much? I agree. Okay. I need a motion to reappoint Mr. Miller to the LTAP board.
So, second?
DeBono, I'm gonna get you guys right. DeBono moved, Shu seconded, call the vote.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trujillo,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes. Item 9B, consideration of a resolution to change the signatory on the existing state revolving loan fund for the water tank rehabilitation project. This is just a formality, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. We had gone through and changed everything and recently learned that this is just a minor thing. We've got to do the resolution and it's got to go before council, removing Mike Valentine, adding Tara to there. It's just part of the requirements by CDPHE and the Colorado Water Resources Power Development Authority Board for our state revolving fund loan.
Okay. That's pretty slam.
It is.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Shu, motion second. You know, the left side of the dais needs to pick up. Get with it. Call the vote, please.
out. I know, that's right.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trujillo,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes. 9C, consideration of a contract for the last stage of asbestos abatement for the Fox West Theater.
Yeah.
It's your night, Mr. Mason.
I guess so. It's only two. So, with our DOLA grant thing we just passed through, our amendment, we're gonna have to complete the asbestos abatement for the Fox West Theater. From 2021 through 2025, we've spent approximately $451,000 of an EPA brownfield grant on asbestos and lead-based paint abatement for the Fox West Theater. And it's one of those things where you have to get completed before we could continue our work, continue our rehab, hopefully open the building at some point. And just some background, when we did a pretty big project that completed in 2024. We did a walkthrough with the contractor, and there was a couple areas that didn't get inspected initially for asbestos, and then there was a couple places that weren't accessed, that weren't able to be accessed, so they weren't inspected. So with that, and there was thoughts that we would probably have some asbestos in there. So in September 2024, I asked Stantec, who's our grant grant manager for our EPA brownfield grant. They have some asbestos certified people on their staff. They came in and they said, yeah, we're probably looking at some asbestos as well. In December, we had a certified asbestos inspector come in and sample those areas that we were thinking had asbestos. And there was 2 areas that he found that were considered spills. The first is now we're underneath even the bog basement. We're in the crawl space of the basement and under the stage. It's one of those places that's it's hard to get to. No one really inspected it beforehand, so there was a spill down there with a pipe covering, and then that pipe actually went through the wall and you had to go around the building, but there's a boiler room, and that was never really known to be there actually. You have to get in by a ladder. You have to open up a hatch, get in by a ladder. So there was asbestos in there as well as some water. So that would create a spill when it fell into the water. So we had all the testing done. In February 2025, We put together an RFP with Stantec, submitted to 15 qualified asbestos contractors in the state. And then I have the table on the back page of the 7 we received. The lowest bidder was Colorado Hazard Control for $74,000. We also scored the 3 lowest bids just because they were similar in price. The development team, as well as we had a Stantec consultant score them. We called some references for all of them. They're all pretty outstanding companies. Actually, the inspector that did the sampling, he knows all 3 companies pretty well. He said they're all really good companies to work with. So yeah, that's the contract there for Colorado Hazard Control, $74,215. And then the funding for it, we still hold about $48,500 in the EPA Brownfield grant. That will be used for this project. We were hoping the project bid would come in under that, but it just didn't. And then we'd be using some of the Colorado Community Revitalization Grant to pay the rest. We're estimating $35,000 because there's going to be some final inspections to be completed, make sure it's asbestos free in the building and free to continue to rehab as we please. So, before they do have, it's currently right around $400,000. So, taking that away, what we'll need for the DOLA grant. But yeah.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have anything?
I just want to say I appreciate the due diligence that you did in looking at the lowest bids, because that always concerns me when there's such a huge variance between the highest and the lowest. I want to make sure that the work is actually going to be done and done well, and it sounds like you have assured yourself of that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Nick, if council approves this after this abatement is completed, there's not going to be any more unexpected surprises?
No, we'll do a final inspection, but we're pretty confident we found all the nooks and crannies that are holding a little bit left. The building's been pretty combed through now. Like I said, the couple were leftover place things that we kind of did. There's some door jambs that have caulking that has asbestos. We did like 3, we did most of them on top, but we didn't do the ones on the bottom, so that's added in here. So those are pretty obvious, but then there it is. The main ones are the ones in the crawl space and the bottom. So we're all the way down the bottom. There's no more deeper to go. So.
How low can you go?
Yeah, the top's been pretty much pretty well.
Except the water table.
Now, it seemed to me that when they taking care of that crawl space before, wasn't there an issue that they had to get down there and do that? So how come all that wasn't cleaned up at that time?
So they were doing the ballroom, which is on the opposite side of the wall here. The ballroom kind of is underneath the stadium or the auditorium part. There's a separating wall between that and then the stage area. So they did underneath the ballroom, and it's actually the same elevation, and it's some of the same pipes. And that's what made us think, oh, there's probably asbestos as we continue through. It probably could have been a change order. It probably could have. I don't know. I wasn't here when.
Yeah, because I remember they were going to do that.
I think it was a pretty good change order to do the crawl space under the ballroom, and it's that same elevation, but now it's on the other side of the wall. They just never went because the access to it is totally different. It's
Yeah,
all the way
would
across
they
the
be
other side.
responsible for doing that? I mean, they got paid to do that.
They got paid to do underneath the ballroom, and they did a good job of that. But I don't think like I said, it probably could have been a change order. I don't know why they did that, whether they didn't move forward with a change order on that. And I don't know if they ever inspected beyond it. Was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, because it seems like they're doing double work and getting paid.
This is a different company. Yeah, this is a totally
Yeah,
different.
that's why I
day.
say, so the other company can't be responsible for any of that. They signed off.
Yeah, they've been paid.
I mean, yeah, so we can't.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably been a change order, and just a continuance of their contract. Yeah, I came in a little after that was gonna.
I just, because I remembered them doing that and bringing that up to us and doing that. I thought they did it all cleaned up underneath there.
Yeah, and then the other piece was like something that they didn't know was there, the boiler room. So they knew it was there, but they couldn't get access to it.
That's it. Mr. Trio?
No, thank you for getting that all taken care of and identifying everything, so.
Mr. Thurman?
No question, just could you check on that situation with that other part? Is that possible to figure
Yeah,
out?
I'll dig up through their contract and what their change orders
I
were.
vaguely remember the conversation now that you brought that up. I remember them couldn't get to that other part, but I didn't know what the financial part was as far as them being able to do part of it, but not the full.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to do some digging for sure to make sure that, I'm sure there was, because they were abating the ballroom anyway, and then that's when they discovered it underneath the ballroom.
Yeah, because of the water situation.
Yeah, there was a water leak in there as well.
I have no question there.
So how many sub-basements are in that building?
I don't know, this is the bottom of the stage, and then that other one is the ballroom there, so. It's just, this is the bottom level, like I said, we're.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, it's been a while now, but when me and the contractor went through, he's like, oh yeah, well, you can't just get to these things like, oh, I want to get down there. There's like, well, to get down there, you have to actually go up and around and climb back down the stairs and then climb down that ladder, and now you can get into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, so it was fun taking the guys around for the pre-bid inspection, or the pre-bid meeting, because they were looking through and like, how do we get there? I'm like, oh, you got to go. I said, you can climb that ladder. It's not me, guys. I said, you climb the ladder, you go down that crawl space.
Wow. These old buildings have secrets and
Yeah, that's right.
nooks and crannies all over them.
That's right.
All
It's
right,
an exciting
thank you.
building.
Thanks, Nick. I need a motion to consider the contract for the last stage of asbestos abatement at the Fox West.
So moved.
Do we hear a second from that?
Second.
All right.
Oh,
These guys stepped up. Mr. Thurman seconded. Mr. Williamson moved. He made the motion. Williamson, call the vote, please.
I'm going to change it up to Thurman,
Yes.
Trivia,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
I would vote yes if you would definitely check
Oh,
into that.
yeah.
Make sure that we aren't paying double
Oh,
for something that
definitely.
should have been.
Yeah.
can we say that's a yes vote?
Yeah, that's what I said. I voted.
Okay, thank you.
He said he was gonna check.
Yes,
on
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. Just want to make sure.
Griego.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you something should be done right. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
That's why you're here, Mr. Shue.
Thanks, Nick.
Item number 10, thank you, Mr. Mason, appreciate it. Item 10, reports by city manager and city attorney.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We're excited to bring you on July 7th, which is next Monday at our work session, our final numbers on Santa Fe Trail Base. So we'll have a final report on that. Coming to the end of my first 60 days, I've had an opportunity to meet with all the boards and commissions except for one. I'm meeting with a couple of folks from lodging tax, and I'll touch base with Chris afterwards tomorrow. The next month, I'm going to be concentrating on a different outreach, state agencies and other strategic government partners. This starts with a visit from the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. They're going to be in town on July 9th and 10th. And I was also able to meet with the Los Angeles County Commissioners today and Trinidad State College and the Emergent Campus to start a discussion on an economic development strategy. And it went really well. It was a good start. We'll have investors in town on July 11th to tour a handful of buildings. In particular, they're interested in the Columbian, which is up for sale. So that being on our main corridor is of interest. We're also, our Development and Services Department has started the meetings with our department heads. We're putting together a buildings improvement plan to bring to you, and we'll have it ready in a few months. And it's going to guide some of our budget discussions in CIP and how we take care of our buildings and the things that we need to upgrade in them. So excited to see that coming together, and want to compliment Mr. Mason's staff who's heading up that project. We've got a couple of big upcoming items. We'll be hearing from our city clerk's office on elections. Those are coming up this year. And then, of course, with our finance department on budget. So we'll be kicking off those discussions in the next couple of weeks. We have both of the police chief and the finance director posted, as well as the communications and community relations coordinator, which was what I presented at the work session. The budget neutral new job descriptions. In June, we hired 3 new employees. Eric Wu is an animal care attendant at the shelter. Both Philip Willett and Skylar Green are 2 of our new dispatchers. So excited to welcome them on. I was also lucky to attend the CML conference this past week and attended some great sessions on AI, economic development, energy development, budget, and development of staffing plans and HR and the best practices for that, Phil. And I'll be including some of those ideas that I picked up in staff meetings. You might even see 1 or 2 of them in work sessions. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you.
Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The only thing I want to comment on is I also had the pleasure of going to CML. And legal sessions, I won't regale you with but there were a lot of them. They were, some were okay, some were less than okay. I do want to say that the session that Councilman Ogletree mentioned, that was interesting, community court and homelessness in that interaction. The really good thing about that, though, was I caused Councilman Ogletree to sit in the back row at the back table at the back of the conference room. So I was able to corrupt her a little bit by doing that. But it was a pleasure to be there with Ms. Marshall and Council members Ogletree and Trujillo. Also, I want to say happy birthday to Mr. Rossetti. Words I never thought that I would utter, but I just wish that every day was his birthday so he would be this nice to us. I'm kidding. But anyway, that is all I have, Mayor and council members. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 11 is executive session. There's 2 items on the executive session agenda. 11A, to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interest under CRS 24-6 4024A, acquisition of property, and 11B, for a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS 24-6 4024BE, the Opera House. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
So moved.
Now you guys are busy.
I'll take the second, Mayor.
It was almost a motion off.
Okay, I'll take it. Williamson made the motion, Trujillo seconded.
Sure.
Call the vote.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trujillo?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Let's take,
Take.
take a break till 7:10 so we can clear out the room. There will be no vote taken and thank you.
Birthday, Danny.
And right in the